Hello everyone, with Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Saturday evening, June 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I really appreciate the fact that you guys got my last video up to 100 likes, and I'd love it if you get this video up to 100 likes as well. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the videos, and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the videos out to more weather lovers or rain lovers just like you guys, so that we can build this weather community in time for the peak of hurricane season and in turn keep everyone safe. Share this video with your friends, your relatives, your co-workers, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the dad's been like in your area recently. Also, feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the future of in your specific area. Alright, so we're in the month of June now. So it's time to look at the Atlantic hurricane and tropical storm activity from 1944 to 2020. So we see that this time of year in June, we don't typically see much activity. We see some spikes here on the chart, but nothing compared to what expected during the months of August, September, and October. So we'll take anything that we get, especially the rainfall, as we head into summer to cool these temperatures down. As it relates to the typical tracks during the month of June, we can see the areas right here, especially across the Western Caribbean, pushing northwestward into the Gulf of Mexico and curving across sections of Florida, as well as across Central America and into the Gulf of Mexico, going right up into maybe Louisiana, Mississippi, or Texas right there. We'll see exactly what unfolds this time around. And as it relates to the first 10 days of June, these are the areas that we usually see some amount of tropical cyclone formation, wherever we see these red dots. So we see a lot of them across the Western Caribbean, sections near the Bahamas, one right here to the north of Jamaica, and a couple of them across the Gulf of Mexico. On another note, regarding June isn't a stranger to flash floods, especially across Jamaica. We actually had a crazy flash flood in 1979, and we also had another one in 1986. The one in 1979 claimed at least 40 lives, did a lot of flooding and damage. That was a crazy one. If you'd like to read some more, you can go to Radio Jamaica News Online. This article was posted on June 12 in 2023. As it relates to the 1986 Jamaica floods, this one killed at least 50 people, and it did a lot of damage, and they even compared it to that of the June 1979 flood. Even although it's Wikipedia, and we know that Wikipedia is not 100% a credible source, it's quite an interesting read, and you can find it on that site. So in light of this, we need to take necessary precautions, considering what is being highlighted here from the NHC_TAFB, which stands for National Hurricane Center's Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch. So they made a post today at about 2:36 p.m. highlighting the long line of clouds stretching all the way from the northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of the southwestern Caribbean, and they highlighted it with those red markings. They stated here, scattered to numerous thunderstorms will continue within the red oval beyond midnight tonight, supported by a deep layered upper trough from Bermuda to the northwest Caribbean. Weather in the Caribbean is expected to shift slowly east into tonight. Potential for wind gusts, gale force or higher is also expected. So they highlighted the tropical wave, and they also confirmed the fact that it is definitely interacting with a trough, which explains all of the wind shear. We can see the high level clouds being pushed off towards the east, and according to this, it's expected to shift slowly towards the east. So it's not pushing westward at all, it's pushing eastward. And if we actually take a look at what the US National Hurricane Center is showing on their Atlantic tropical weather discussion, they highlighted something right here. Let me zoom in so that I can read. Alright, so the special features, they stated heavy rainfall in Hispaniola, Jamaica, and eastern Cuba, active tropical waves, and a persistent upper level trough continue to enhance atmospheric moisture content across the northern, central, and western Caribbean. Heavy rains are possible through next week, with the greatest risk for large accumulations from Tuesday through Friday. Localized flooding is possible, especially in areas of Hispaniola where the ground remains saturated from recent heavy rain events. And let me highlight the most important part right here. Yes, they stated that heavy rainfall is possible, but they highlighted that it hasn't even begun as yet, because all of this is expected to last from the coming Tuesday into Friday. So this is just the beginning of what we're seeing right here across the Caribbean, all of these clouds associated with the tropical wave interacting with the trough. So if there's some amount of flash flooding taking place, this is usually the time of year that it is expected, so we have to take necessary precautions so that we're not that drastically affected. If you're in a vehicle, do not go through flooded roadways, turn around, don't drown. If you wake up in the morning and you see that it is raining, don't go out, stay where you are. Prevention is better than cure, it's better safe than sorry. If we actually take a look at what the supercomputer models are showing in terms of rainfall over the next 7 days, so we're just going to be going out to the next 168 hours, so we're going to be focusing our attention right here and right here where we have Jamaica right here. So we're going to be looking at the Euro model first, then we're going to be looking at the GFS. You know, when it comes to these maps, they're actually showing where it's going to be raining as indicated by the greens, the yellows, and we can see all of that being represented by what we see on the key on the right. All of this in inches. So we see some greens that represent maybe up to 1 inch of rainfall, and we see all of that rising as we go up into the yellows. The more colorful it gets, the more rainfall is expected. So we're going out to the next 168 hours. That's actually the next 7 days, just like what the US National Hurricane Center would do. So let's go out in time. So looking ahead, this is about 7 a.m. on Sunday. 12Z is 7 a.m. Jamaica time on Sunday, and we do see that we still have some amount of greens that represent rainfall across portions of Jamaica. So some of this rainfall that we've been getting today could spill into tomorrow as well. Who knows, maybe even more cloudy conditions than anything else. Skipping ahead to about Monday at 12Z, that's 7 a.m. we still see much of the same, a lot of greens that represent rainfall. Even going into Tuesday, we still see much of the same, even more intense on Tuesday. Look at these darker greens and yellows embedded in there. Well, that's according to the Euro though. We'll see what the GFS is showing. Even on Wednesday, we see those greens. This is 18th on Wednesday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Wednesday. Lots of greens that represent a lot of moisture, a lot of rainfall. Even into Thursday, something similar. Seems like we're in for a week of rain in general. And then by the end of the 168 hours, which is actually 12Z on Saturday, when we calculate that, that's 7 a.m. on Saturday, we see that we still have some leftover showers right there. However, what do we see on the GFS model? So this is valid for 1 p.m. on Sunday. We don't see much in the way of rainfall like what the Euro was showing at all, but we do see the green surrounding the island. Skipping ahead to about 18Z on Monday, we start to see the greens that represent rainfall across the island. Going into Tuesday, something similar. Going into Wednesday, even more robust with those darker greens. Going into Thursday, it's basically gonna be a week of rain in general. And then by the time we get to the 168 hours, we see something similar to what the Euro was showing. So we still see some light shades of green surrounding the island in a way-ish, but nothing drastic like what we saw earlier in the week or what is expected next week. So we'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, Both accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that there's going to be an increase in rainfall. Keep in mind that this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until Saturday, June 8th. And we can see all of the purples across Jamaica that we can see by the key on the right that represent up to even maybe 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, maybe even up to even 4 inches of rainfall in some spots. And if we take a look at another map for reference, these maps from the Weather Nerd site is actually showing the same thing. It's just using different keys, so it's nothing tremendous. It's basically the same amount of rainfall. So we see the key on the right that represents the up to 2 to 4 inches of rainfall as represented by the purples, and we see Jamaica right here on both the Euro and the GFS malls set to expect some amount of rainfall. And we see the time frame at the top right here, the next 168 hours, that's the next 7 days. So all of these maps showing the same thing. There is consensus. We're gonna be receiving some amount of rainfall in the coming week. It's much welcome, especially considering the heat that we've been plagued with and the dry weather during the month of June. On another note, although all of these entities are showing all of this information regarding the rainfall that's expected, the U.S. National Hurricane Center, as of their 7:18 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time update, which is actually 6:18 p.m. Jamaica time, their update isn't showing anything expected during the next 7 days. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see the red line right here associated with the tropical wave that has been affecting portions of Jamaica today, now off towards the southwest of the island. The trough right here attached to the area of low pressure, which explains all of the strung out clouds and the upper level wind shear. Another tropical wave affecting portions of northeastern South America to the east of the Windward Islands. Another tropical wave right here to the east, to the east of French Guyana, out in the open waters of the main development region. If we actually take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that cold front attached to the trough and interacting with the tropical wave. And let us take a closer look at this spot right here. So there has been a lot of talk on weather forums that I'm a part of about some kind of turning regarding the clouds, maybe some kind of circulation. If you actually look closely, we don't want to, what's the word, hype it up and say, oh, maybe there's something brewing, something forming. The fact that it is showing more of those upper level clouds, mid to upper level clouds, is telling that yes, there is something spinning, but we don't see a defined low level circulation, and that is what the U.S. National Hurricane Center looks for. We have to see the spinning of the clouds in the lower levels of the atmosphere, and we can clearly see that we have a lot of winds pushing from east to west underneath all of this. So if anything was to form, we expected the low level flow to kind of do a thing like this in order for there to be something to form. And I'm sure that the U.S. National Hurricane Center would have picked up on this and highlighted it in their latest forecast, and the fact that they didn't shows us that there's nothing much to worry about. Either way, we can see that we have some clouds coming in from the east associated with the tropical wave, the section of the Windward Islands, some amount of clouds as usual affecting sections of northeastern South America, some clouds across sections of the central United States pushing eastward into the eastern United States. We'll be talking more about the Caribbean's weather later on. Let us focus our attention on what was predicted in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Saturday, June 1. It was stated that we would have received some amount of rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes in the morning, and then some rainfall across sections of some central and western parishes, and especially northern parishes during Saturday afternoon. And just for reference, you know that eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, so Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, and St. Andrew. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, so St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, so Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? As early as 8:38 a.m., we had to depend on the Guantanamo Bay Doppler radar because yes, we were having a lot of cloud cover across the island this morning. Most of us woke up to cloudy conditions, but we couldn't pinpoint where exactly the rainfall was, which is why we need a Doppler radar. But we know the Jamaican Doppler radar has been out, the Cuban Doppler radar has been out, so we have to be using the US military's Doppler radar near the Guantanamo Bay prison right here, and it actually shows a piece of northeastern Jamaica, more so Portland than anything else. And we saw the greens that represent rainfall affecting sections of Portland during that time. So that indeed confirms the rainfall that was predicted for eastern parishes in the morning, as some of that rainfall definitely spilled into sections of St. Mary as well, not so much St. Thomas during the morning. But by about 12:45 p.m., we saw that we had the clouds taking over and building across section of the island. The tropical wave was definitely getting active at that time. We saw those oranges, those reds, those even black colors, not to mention the sparkling white dots that we know represent a amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. And we saw all of that across sections of some southern parishes at that time. So sections of St. Thomas, sections of St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester definitely picked up on some thunderstorm right there. And by 2:20 p.m. we saw that the rainbow satellite images were posted, and they showed the cloud cover across most of Jamaica. There was rainfall across sections of most parishes, if not overcast skies. And even by 5:05 p.m., we still had some lingering thunderstorms across sections of Hanover and St. James, as we can see by these images. And we have some of our commenters confirming the rainfall. We had Agent Cole Brown, that's DG, stating we really got some good showers today, that posted 2 hours ago. Roger Goodwill, raining in St. Anne. Corn Pork 82, stating raining in Central Mandeville from 12. We had Warren Barton 1212, stating getting the rain in Portmore, but my small tree blew down in my yard. Nathan Thomas, stating thank you Lord, it's raining in my ear. Hope it continues for the rest of the day. Then we had Delroy Hines on our Facebook page, stating we are getting light to moderate showers in Fontabelle, St. Mary. Sade, stating raining in St. Catherine, thank you Lord. Gavin stating raining a lot in Maypen, Fiona. Heavy rain, thunder plus lightning in St. Elizabeth where I live. Even on our Instagram page we had the comments flooding in the week and living, stating but what a start to my favorite time of the year. Mrs. Shaw _1 daughter, stating thunderstorm and heavy rain in Clarendon. And we had Esania Rob, stating raining in St. Thomas a lot. Snowflakes _1997, stating it's starting a man. Then we have Eva Bless Her, stating Maypen washing away. Steph Brissett, stating best way to kickstart the hurricane season. I agree with that. Dixon Yan A, stating getting it in St. Elizabeth. Mona _GH_CA, stating yes, it's raining heavily in Kingston. And we even got some comments coming in on our TikTok page, even although that's rare. Katie and Thompson, stating freak storm in Clarendon. Latoya, Portmore gets some to thank God. And we even had 2 of our subscribers on our last YouTube video confirming the rainfall for today. That's Shanika Finn, stating getting some rain in Palmford, St. Thomas right now, that was 5 hours ago. And Sharon South, stating raining in Manchester and Trelawney. Alright, so let us take a look at See Jamaica's YouTube channel. If you don't know by now, we have a partnership with this channel. They actually show live streams across areas in the corporate area, the Kingston Harbour, Crossroads, Halfway Tree, and even the Flat Bridge in St. Thomas. And we saw that if we roll back the time on this live stream, we saw when the rainfall was coming in, a lot of strong winds and heavy rainfall. That was about 12:26 p.m. We saw that rainfall across the Flat Bridge. Don't see anyone driving around at that time at all. I wouldn't either. Oh, there's a bus coming around the corner, another car. Alright, definitely defying the odds. We have some bad weather taking place, but we know how the Flat Bridge can be, especially when there's too much rainfall. all of this water might even overflow the banks, covering the entire road. If we take a look at the crossroads cam at around 1:48 p.m. looking southward to the airport, we can even see a plane right there moving behind that building. We saw that we definitely had some amount of rainfall affecting sections of the corporate area, section of downtown. Moving around to the left looking eastward now, you can definitely see that we had that rainfall affecting sections of crossroads. Section of Kingston in general got in on some amount of rainfall, and the rainfall was so bad in the halfway tree area at 1:52 p.m. that there was a glitch with the live stream. I think there might have even been a power outage that took place that caused this to go out, as we can see right here. Persons walking with their umbrella, cars with their windshield wipers on, strong winds making these trees dance. Definitely some rainfall today, and we're indeed grateful. If we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see that the entirety of the island was covered with some amount of clouds. And if we take a look at the latest infrared satellite images, let me reload these images so that I have the latest. We can see that most of the high cold cloud tops have pushed off towards the north and east. The heaviest weather is gone, but we still have some high cold cloud tops that are definitely bringing some amount of drizzle in some spots as we speak. Taking a look at the Meteorological Service of Jamaica's Doppler radar, we don't see anything happening because the radar has been temporarily out of service for the past 3 years. After speaking to Evan Thompson recently, he stated that it's a possibility that the radar could be up and running by July in 2024. Hopefully, I don't have to call back in August asking what's going on. Hopefully it's fixed by that time for real. Unfortunately, the Cuban Doppler radar has been out. Información no disponible temporalmente. The information is temporarily unavailable. Hopefully, they get the Doppler radar up and running as soon as possible. We know how important Doppler radars are. They actually show the rainfall as opposed to satellite images that show cloud cover, and we can have cloud cover around here and not necessarily rainfall. So we have to depend on the Cayman radar right here. That shows the rainfall represented by the blues, the greens, the yellows showing the heavy rainfall. Some of that rainfall coming off of Cuba. Some of that rainfall showing across western Jamaica. Just some drizzle taking place now across section of western Jamaica, section of Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James. And we can see that we can't see much of the rest of the island. We wish we could see central and eastern Jamaica. Unfortunately, this is the only radar left to look at. Hopefully Haiti installs a Doppler radar, even though we know how expensive they are. But we do see the Guantanamo Bay radar definitely working. We only wish it had a wider view to show more of Jamaica. But we do see some of that rainfall, some light rainfall, maybe some drizzle still taking place across section of Portland into St. Thomas. Taking a look at the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 29 degrees Celsius in both Montego Bay and Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Sunday, temperature should dip down to about 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast from the GFS model, this is showing 18 on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday. And we see Jamaica right here embedded in some gray colors and at least a slight yellow shade right there. And we know the gray colors represent average temperatures, the yellow colors represent slightly above normal temperatures. And we know the average temperatures for the month of June are about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. 90 degrees Fahrenheit is about the same as 32 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 32 to 33 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Sunday. Taking a look at the dry air map, we can see that we have a lot of moist air across the basin. We have more so wind, we have blues than anything else, and we're indeed grateful for that. Remember how hot April into May was, with a lot of yellows, oranges and reds that we know from what we see on the key on the bottom represents the dry air. And we see most of that dry air across the southern Gulf of Mexico, off the east coast of the United States, off the west coast of Africa, and to the west of Europe right here. However, what about the Saharan dust? This map is showing 2 p.m. on Sunday and where the dust should be. And we see all of the dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean, especially the northern Caribbean. So we see all the browns, and we know all of this is being pushed from east to west in the flow of easterly trade winds brought about by the ridges of high pressure. And we do see right here all the browns right here across sections of the northeastern Caribbean, going into sections of Hispaniola, the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba, Jamaica. If we get to see the sun tomorrow, we might see the hazy skies, definitely. Hopefully we don't get in on any respiratory illnesses, no asthma or sinusitis issues at all. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, this map from the Euro and this map from GFS are both showing the blues surrounding the island that we know represent anywhere from 1 to 1.5 major wave heights, and that's because the winds are going to be averaging anywhere from 10 to 15 to even 20 knots, as we can see by the bluish and green, brighter green colors. And we see the general direction for the low level flow of winds from the east. And with the upper level winds coming in more so from the west to northwest tomorrow, we might favor some more of that rainfall across sections of some southern parishes more than anything else. So we're indeed grateful for that. The past week we've been having that upper level wind shear pushing all of those high cold cloud tops off towards the northeast. So it's nice to see for a change a kind of flip to the weather pattern. If you don't know what I'm referring to, I'm talking about this. If we look back at the infrared satellite images, we saw the direction that the high cold cloud tops were blowing, definitely blowing off towards the northeast. But tomorrow it's expected to move in a kind of west-northwesterly fashion than anything else, bring more of those clouds that, if we get some thunderstorm activity, to sections of some southern parishes more than anything else. If not some rainfall, definitely overcast skies. That's if we get that afternoon thunderstorm activity. So if we take a look at where the rainfall is expected, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing where it's going to be raining at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's tonight. That's about midnight tonight. And we see that they're in consensus that we should have some rainfall still lingering across the island. We see some blues that represent rainfall on the north coast as well as on the south coast on both maps. Skipping ahead to about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. We see that there is still some amount of rainfall lingering across sections of eastern Jamaica on both the Euro and the GFS malls. That's where we see the consensus. We don't see much for the rest of the island, even although the Euro is picking up on some dots here and there across the west. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Even by 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is actually 9 p.m. Jamaica time. We see much of the same on both maps, some rainfall plaguing eastern and even sections of northern coastal areas. We'll see how that goes. Either way, both accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS are showing that somewhere in Jamaica is going to be receiving rainfall. Keep in mind that both of these maps are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on a Sunday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now all the way up until then, but these are the areas that are going to be picking up the most in the way of rainfall. Yesterday we saw a flip. The GFS was showing more rainfall totals for today than on the Euro. Now the Euro is showing more rainfall totals than the GFS. Let's work with the GFS this time. GFS showing more of that rainfall across eastern Jamaica, showing up to at least 0.6 of an inch of rainfall within the next 24 hours. Euro showing up to at least 0.9 of an inch of rainfall across southern Jamaica. We'll see how that goes. We just have to wait and see. Either way, we're indeed grateful. We're in the month of June, according to this bar graph that shows the average rainfall from 1996 to 2015. We usually receive up to 133.35 millimeters of rainfall during this month. It's supposed to be less than May, but if you remember what I said earlier, June is no stranger to some ridiculous flash flooding, just like what we showed here with this article from RJR News, the 1979 floods and the 1986 flood, both of which took place in the month of June. So who knows, we might get in on some crazy rainfall event, and hopefully it's nothing like that. We don't want any loss of life. We just want something to put some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are currently experiencing. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have some clouds bringing some rainfall to section of the southern and central United States, all of which is pushing eastward. We can also see the clouds associated with the cold front attached to the trough and the tropical wave, stretching all the way into sections of Central America. So sections of the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, section of Honduras, Nicaragua, definitely getting in on some amount of rainfall even as we speak. Not so much the Cayman Islands at all. We do see the clouds being pushed from east to west, even well more so from east, southeast to west, northwest, across section of the Windward Islands associated with moisture from a tropical wave. I'm sure they're indeed grateful for that rainfall. Some of that heading into sections of Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada. Not so much Trinidad right now, but definitely Tobago. And we also see that thunderstorm activity is taking place across sections of French Guiana, Suriname, Guyana, sections of the southern portions of Venezuela as well. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we're not going to see much in the way of rainfall today at all. Only some leftover rainfall across sections of the eastern portion of the Dominican Republic. Some of that rainfall associated with the moisture from the tropical wave into section of Guadeloupe, Dominica that we just mentioned on the satellite images. And we can see it all even better right here on the Doppler radar images from Barbados. We wish we had a Doppler radar like this across Jamaica. Look at the wide range. So we can see a lot of rainfall surrounding Barbados. They're definitely going to be getting on some more rainfall tonight from the east, southeast. Rainfall can be seen already coming into sections of Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, definitely getting nailed. Some of that rainfall could hit or miss sections of the Grenadine Islands, sections of Grenada. Tobago definitely getting on some rainfall, northeastern Trinidad as well. If we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can actually see the Cayman radar on this wider view finally back up and running. It was down for some time, but they finally fixed it. So we can see what we showed earlier with the rainfall coming off of Jamaica. We can also see some rainfall across sections of the Dominican Republic, as well as the rainfall that we just saw on the Barbados radar. Some rainfall as well coming into sections of French Guiana. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18 on Sunday, which is actually 1 p.m. on Sunday. And we do see that for the most part, majority of the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, Central America, and Northern South America should be getting in on those yellows and oranges that we know represent above normal temperatures, while we have the grays and the blues and even the greens that represent average to below normal temperatures for sections of the Bahamas, eastern United States, and sections of the Turks and Caicos, sections of Haiti, and coastal areas of northeastern Cuba. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Sunday, we see all the browns that represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean. This is where the dust is going to be. We know all of this is pushing from east to west. So definitely sections of the northern Caribbean, eastern Cuba, the southern Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Haiti, Dominican Republic more than anywhere else. Some hazy skies definitely expected, maybe triggering some respiratory illnesses in some persons, so make sure that you have your meds handy. We can see that this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing the wave forecast. We know the waves are represented by what we see on the key on the bottom right. The blues are the lighter shades of blues, the darker shades of blues that represent the higher wave height. So anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights are definitely expected across the Caribbean. And that's because the winds are going to be averaging anywhere from 10 to 15 to even 20 knots at most, maybe even gusting to 25 knots, or we see those yellows. We know the bluish greens and the brighter shades of greens all represent those wind speeds. But let's talk about rainfall now. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing where it's going to be raining within the next 24 hours. They're showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Sunday, and we're going to be looking for the consensus on both maps. So we see that there's definitely some consensus for rainfall, some more for section of Cuba, the Cayman Islands finally getting in on the mix, section of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Puerto Rico, sections of those areas that we just mentioned. So Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, sections of Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, Venezuela, not so much the ABC islands at all, but sections of Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, especially eastern Nicaragua, Honduras, coastal areas of southeastern Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador as well. And the thing is, if we look at both the Euro and the GFS malls, we're going to be seeing the consensus with where the rainfall is expected. I know that when there's consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.